Hello gamers and genders, welcome back to the opera. Now, all -2 of you might have noticed, I haven't been here for a while. That has been because I have been moving, and I'm going to be moving again, so that's really cool for me. This summer, I moved literally within the same zip code, and it somehow occupied all of my brain space, and now in a few months, I'm going to be moving again, but this time across the country. So, you can only imagine how much I am not able to think about other things right now. I will be moving from Texas to not Texas. And while I'm very excited about it, I don't know how I'm going to get anything done between now and then if I'm already, like, you know, not able to think about stuff because I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to survive in the cold, which I'm very excited about. I cannot stress this enough. I'm very much looking forward to it, but, like, oh my god, I don't know how to think about other things. So, I'm trying to de-stress with art, to varying degrees of success. This is one of the first paintings that I've done since I've moved in, July, and it is currently December, so, you know, still working through it, but we're gonna try. So, I thought I would try to come back into it by doing more of the series that I initially was trying to do, before I started moving, and that is, you know, painting Sailor Moon characters, but if they were Pokemon trainers, and trying to design, you know, where they would fit in the world, who their ace Pokemon would be, that kind of thing. So, I feel like in this little universe, I feel like Mercury, she would be a gym leader. I think that makes sense for her character, and I think that Venus would be a contest coordinator, which, admittedly, is not something I know a ton about. That was not really my thing in, the Gen 3 or 4 games, but I know that lots of people like it, and I feel like she... If any of the girls were going to be that, it would be her, because she, like, kind of wanted to be, you know, like an idol, like a famous person in the anime. She wouldn't really be as into the battling, the strategizing. Well, I mean, there's strategy in the beauty contests, but, you know, that would be more her jam, not so much like the fighting stuff. Whereas Mercury, I feel like that would be her jam. Like, she would want to, you know, strategize how to, you know, plan a team, how to team build, how to breed, how to, you know, how to plan out egg moves. Like, she would be all about that kind of stuff, I feel. And so you might be wondering, why Sea King? That seems not really up her alley, and I have to disagree. I feel like she would want to pick, like, an underdog character, because I feel like lots of characters are, you know, brainy, they're smart, but, like, what makes her different, I feel, is that she's friends with Sailor Moon in the gang, and I, personally, I'm gonna be honest, I don't quite understand the decision. Like, if she was not, you know, bound by destiny to be, like, one of the Sailor Scouts, I don't know that she would still be friends with the gang, but she is, and I feel like, in order to, like, actually make that work for a character like her, she has to, you know, like, see the good in everybody, and even though they, like, have not a lot of things in common, a lot of differences between them, but she still wants to, you know, be kind, be good, and, you know, be close to everybody, even people who don't necessarily, like, understand her, and she doesn't always understand them, because I feel like she's very much, the mom friend of the group, and they don't necessarily look out for her as much as she looks out for them in, like, that responsibility kind of sense. Like, she's always the one kind of nagging them of, like, hey, you gotta do your homework or else you're not gonna get into school, like, get into good schools next year, whatever. And I don't know, in that way, I do relate to her. I had similar frustrations when I was younger of, like, always being the responsible one, but that meant that I never got to be the fun one, and that sucks when you're, you know, always in that same role all the time. And I don't know, when I was younger, I would not have said that Mercury was my favorite character, but the older I get, the more I feel like I understand her in that way, because I was always the nerdy one who's always thinking about, like, well, here's, like, we gotta be responsible about this and this and this, and just my friends would, like, always got to be the fun ones, and I never got to be the fun one, because my friends were always busy being doofy, and I gotta worry about them. Anyway, I didn't have to, but this is who I am, and I feel like that's who she is. So for her character, I chose Sea King, because Sea King is the only water-type Pokemon, as far as I know, that gets the hidden ability Lightning Rod, which, in the later gens, when it is actually good, it makes it so that it is totally immune to electric-type attacks, which is really cool, because that is one of the two things that water is weak to. And I feel like she would strategize around that. I feel like she would make very fun, interesting teams, if she was a gym leader. I feel like, okay, so the difficulty of water-type gyms, I feel like, is totally dependent on how early or late they're placed in the game. I feel like you could say that about, like, a lot of the types, but particularly about water-type, because it only has 2 weaknesses. And so if you place it later in the game, you have a lot lot more tools to deal with it, because you probably have at least one grass type or one electric type move on your team. By if it's like the 8th gym or whatever, like you totally have tools to deal with that. But if you place it pretty early and you don't have a lot of little dudes to like team build around yet, like I feel like the earlier you place the water type, the more difficult it is to, you know, be able to beat them. And I feel like, I mean, obviously if you pick a grass type starter, it's not that big of a deal, but they never want to reward people who pick grass type starters, which I feel like is a crime, because I'm a grass type starter enjoyer, and lots of people aren't. I know that most people will probably say that the fire type is their favorite type to pick. I have never been that person. I tend not to like the fire types as much. I'm a grass person. I will occasionally pick water, but like if I had to pick one for the rest of my life, it would be grass type. And for once in my goddamn life, I want to be rewarded for this choice, but I'm not. So here we are. So I feel like she would want to be like an early gym leader, and like there is strategy involved in her gym. But if this was like one of those games where you can fight the gym leaders again later, I feel like she would like really pull out all the stops and make a very interesting gym challenge, or like a rematch challenge. But yeah, that's kind of the vibe that I get from her. I wish that I enjoyed Mercury's outfit more. The shorts were actually inspired by a pair of shorts that I used to own, and I can't wear anymore. I had to get rid of them because I have since then developed a ass. So I had to get rid of these cute wool shorts. They were like this nice muted brown, and I wore them a whole bunch when I could, which is perplexing because, again, I cannot stress this enough. I live in Texas. What was I doing wearing wool shorts? I could not tell you. But I feel like it works for her. Obviously, her outfit is very, like, dark academia inspired. I think that works for, like, who she is. Even when she's being casual, she wants to look, you know, put together and smart, and, like, she's not, you know, the most fashionable girly on the show, but I feel like she puts herself together well. I don't love the way that the vest turns out by the end, just because it gets a little bit muddled, but I like the idea that I had, and I wish that I had more patience for it, because I end up just kind of, like, smushing everything together. You can't really see the shapes as well, and, you know, that's too bad. I really gotta stop doing the thing where I decide to finish the entire painting in one day. It really would benefit from me just, like, putting it down and coming back later and, you know, giving things the time that they need to, like, really, you know, sit on the ideas that I have and, you know, fully execute when I have more patience to put in details and stuff, and that generally means, like, coming back another day, and I didn't do that here. Again, I will learn one day, but today's not that day. But anyway, that's been a whole bunch of yapping about Mercury. I guess I'll talk about Venus. I do enjoy Venus now as a character. I wouldn't say that she was ever, like, my favorite, just because, like, the super duper charismatic girly is not really as much my vibe. I think she's fun, though. I think that she's, like, a necessary part of the squad for that reason, and I think that she and Sailor Moon have, like, a lot of that in common. They bounce off each other very well in that way, that they're both, like, very cute and bubbly. I think it's sweet that she, like, wants to be a famous little idol, but, you know, she still wants to be, like, you know, close to her friends, whatever. But yeah, and then you saw earlier that, like, I was finally able to fix these boots, the boots that I put on her, because initially, like, I wanted to go for, like, a cream off-white color, and so I started by putting a little bit of yellow and then, like, a texture-y brown on top of that, and it looked really nasty, so I ended up having to cover it with white gouache. You can still see, like, a little bit of the off-white underneath, but I'm okay with how they ended up here. That's more or less kind of sort of how I envisioned them. Maybe a little bit more cream, but I'm fine with how they are. And then for the orange of the dress and the bow and the socks and the whatever, I generally don't like to mix my colors on the palette itself. I do usually just do like a wet on wet, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out here for the orange of the dress and everything. And I was somehow, amazingly, able to color match them fairly well. I was not expecting this, to be honest. This was pure luck. But yeah, so I came in initially with like a Hansa yellow light, probably, maybe, I don't remember, it's been a couple of weeks, but then I put in some kind of opera on top, or like maybe a bright rose. There's a strong chance it might have been Bright Rose by Magello, but like, I honestly couldn't tell you. But yeah, mixing those two together gave me this lovely orange here. And yeah, so here I'm starting to put in a little bit more detail, more of the bright rose, if that's what it is, if I'm remembering correctly. Maybe, hopefully, I don't know. I'm adding more of the bright rose to like add some dimension and kind of I'm going for a sequin look. And I don't think it gets there yet, but by the end it does. Just adding these different layers of little stippling, little dots of like kind of implying, you know, another shape on top of the dress. And so initially I'm coming in with the bright rose. I do eventually add like a lemon yellow gouache of some brand, I don't remember. And then in the very, very end, I do add a layer of like white on top of all of that, like a little bit of, you know, just like a little bit more sparkle. Yeah, so I really like the way that Venus's outfit came together. It more or less landed in a place that was, you know, like exactly how I was envisioning, basically. I wish that I could say the same about Mercury's outfit, but I think it's cute enough for Mercury. I do quite like the color that I was able to achieve with Venus. I do quite like them together. I wasn't like planning this per se, but I do like how one is very bright and one is very muted. And I think that, you know, showcases their personalities fairly well. I think that bright orange and like turquoise is a very underrated color combination. I know that we see it a lot, but I feel like they often use the wrong kind of blue. And I have said this before, I will say it again. I'm an ultramarine blue hater, but I feel like that's the one that they like to use. And I think that that's just a darn shame, because I really like turquoise. I think it's such a pretty color to pair with this kind of yellowy orange, and we don't see it enough, so I'm trying to do it here. And I'm finally painting the Pokemon in this Pokemon-centric video, you know how it goes. You know what I should have done? For the Seeking, I should have done something similar that I did with the orange dress. I should have added like a little bit of, you know, stippling texture to give the implication of scales. That would have been cool. You know what would have helped is if I would have taken another day to think about things and then do them on another day, not do everything on the same day again. Someday I'll learn. Someday I'll learn. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot to say about the Persian. I think it works. I think it is a little bit more on the nose than I would like for it to be for this kind of thing, because obviously, like, if I had to pick one Pokemon that was the most visually similar to Artemis from Sailor Moon, it would probably be Persian. And so, yeah, maybe I could have gone with another pick, but I think that it fits her character, I guess. It's fine. I mean, who else was I gonna pick? Because here's the thing also, is like, I don't really want to use, I say this as if I haven't already drawn all of them, but I didn't want to use, like, legendaries. If I did, then maybe I would have gone for something different. If I would have let myself use the legendaries, I might have used, like, Jirachi. I think that would have been a cute pick for Venus. Who would I have picked for Mercury? Who's a legendary that fits Mercury? I can't think of any. Maybe Lugia, which is funny because it's not even water type, but who cares? You know what? I feel like Mercury deserved to be like a partial psychic type gym leader as well. I think that water psychic, that would be cool for her. Why don't we have more dual type gym leaders? I do have another character in the next video that I do probably in like 1,000 months from now, that I do intend for them to be, well, actually, honestly, both of them could probably be dual types, but anyway, definitely Mars I see as a dual type, but we'll get there when we get there. But anyway, yeah, so I'm just kind of going in, rendering this fish. I think it looks fine. I think it would have looked cooler with the scale thing that I just said. I didn't do that. Maybe I'll do that again someday. I should paint more animals. That's kind of why I started doing this, is that I like drawing animals. I like coloring in and rendering animals, but I like bright colors. And so that tends not to go well with animals, as it turns out. Most things are like brown and stuff, and I don't love brown and stuff. So I do Pokemon instead, because I can use the bright colors, and it doesn't look super out of place. Well, maybe it does. I mean, sometimes I'd just be adding colors like where they don't belong. Like, why did I add magenta shading to Persian? I don't know, I just wanted to. I think it looks cool. There's nowhere else in this painting that has magenta shading, but I do what I want. I do like these little speckly details that I added to Seeking. I think that looks fun. He does look really doofy. That's okay. I like the way that he turned out, I think. He's just a silly fish. He can stay a silly fish. He doesn't need to be beautiful. I think that Mercury likes him either way. Oh, and here's me adding PH Martin Radiant watercolors for the background of this because I have a lot of them, and I'm trying to get rid of them. I'm not sure if they will make the move. This painting did not convince me that they're going to make the move. Because, like, I like the color payoff. They're very bright, they're very intense. You don't need a lot to get a lot of color payout. But they do weird things to the texture of the paper, and I will point it out when we get there. It is especially evident with the blue. The yellow looks okay. It's nice and bright, it's very sunny, easy to apply. But the blue, it's rough. So it doesn't like to spread in the water. As you can see here, I'm trying to move it along, and it just kind of, like, stops after a certain point. I'm adding more water here, and then you can see here in this part that it just kind of dries on the paper, and it's hard to get rid of that, like, ridge texture that has formed. So there's just, like, a wiggly line, and I have to cover it again here, and then it does this wild thing. I'm going to show you close up in a second, that it adds just, like, this little speckle texture on the top of the paper, and it looks terrible. It even bleeds through to the backside, and I don't love that. So I don't know if I'm going to keep using it, but, you know, here's the finished piece, yay! I like the overall vibe. I think that Venus looks very cute. I wish that I could have spent more time on Mercury, but that's no one's fault but mine. But yeah, so here's the final detailing that I did. I added a little more shading, a little bit more line work, and then just one more layer of white on top of the sparkles. But yeah, other than that, you saw everything. And I think it looks super cute. So, yay, here we go. Thank you for watching today. Like, comment, subscribe if you want, or don't, because I'm not your dad. Okay, bye, thanks, bye.